The movie starts with music being played. We see a man sitting on a stage and playing guitar. He seems entirely engulfed in his performance. The crowd is eerily quiet. And in a dark corner beside the gate, we see a man in glasses with earbuds in his ear, critically evaluating the environment. The man playing the guitar sees him and abruptly stops playing. The entire crowd is scarily quiet. Their eyes look unfocused and empty, as if they do not know anything about the happenings of their environment. The performer takes his guitar and leaves, following the mysterious man who came to see him. As he goes, a man with black sunglasses stands up and takes his while the onlookers sit quietly watching him with scary smiles on their faces. The performer goes outside and is attacked and abducted in a dark corner of the alley. He is taken to a strange room by the man who went to his performance wearing earbuds. The performer is tied up strongly with iron wires. Turns out the man tied up is called Eugene, and he is possessed by a strong demon. The man in glasses is an exorcist. He tells Eugene that it is over for him and performs an exorcism to banish him. The demon is gone, but not before telling the man that he will be back to take his revenge on him and his entire family. Fast forward to the present day. We see a girl named Mallory performing a Wiccan ritual when her mother comes in and informs her that they are going to see her grandma. Despite her protests, they eventually go. On the way, her mother Jenny and her father Ricky talk about how she will react when they tell her that they are leaving her in her grandma's home to go on vacation. Upon arriving, they greet their cousin and Mallory's uncle, named Lawrence. Her grandma, named Betty, comes in and warmly greets them. After the greetings, they go and sit around the dining table. It doesn't take much longer before their talk turns into a fight. The siblings fight after remembering their father who passed away. They remember him as an abuser and a horrible father. Their youngest sibling shouts at them to call off their bullshit and continue with the dinner. What a chaotic family dinner. On the kids' table, Mallory sits around her cousins, who call her a witch. They ask if she can do magic and talk to the spirits. The kids go to the attic and perform a seance. As their ritual finishes, a thing drops down in the background. Mallory goes to check and finds that it's a guitar. One of her cousins, named Ashley, opens and touches the guitar. As her hand touches the thing, she sees horrible images. Frightened, the poor girl Ashley pushes the guitar away and runs down to her mother's side. The adults all come back from playing a game of catch, and everyone eventually decides to go back to their respective homes. As Mallory comes to ask her parents if they are leaving too, she comes to know that she is staying in her grandma's home and that her parents are going on a trip. She throws a tantrum at first, but then eventually lets it go. Her parents go, and she is left alone at home with her grandma. Mallory's grandma bids everyone goodbye and comes back to spend some time with Mallory. They sit down and play some cards. After a while, Mallory asks about her grandfather. Her grandmother tells her that he was a good man, and also that he was an exorcist. Mallory asks if her grandpa was a musician. Grandma laughs and says no. She eventually decides to go to sleep. She goes to her room. While brushing her teeth, she hears eerie sounds playing and goes out in search of the source. She hears it coming from the attic and goes up there to find a journal with "Ghost Note" scribbled on it. She looks around and finds the guitar, but as she is about to touch the ominous object, she hears squeaking and, terrified, comes running down from the attic. As she reaches downstairs, she finds her grandma standing there, alarmed. She tells her that she found a rat in the attic. Her grandma makes her promise not to go back there, and Mallory goes back to her room. The next morning, she goes running and finds an old friend called Rodney. When she comes back, they greet each other. She hears old guitar music and asks him if he knows Eugene Burns. He tells her that he was known as the Devil of the Delta. He tells her that it is known that he sold his soul to the devil and afterward went on a murder spree. When he inquires why she is interested, she brushes away the question and says that they should meet up later. Back home, Mallory takes a shower, gets freshened up, and then goes out with her friend Rodney. They walk around their childhood play areas and come across an old well that used to scare them as kids. Meanwhile, in Helen's home, we see the kids sitting in front of the TV watching cartoons. She asks about Ashley, who won't get up. She goes on to check on her daughter, who dismisses her, telling her to go away. As Helen closes the door, Ashley looks back with a creepy smile. Her face looks ashen and colorless, and her eyes look unfocused, as if some evil spirit has possessed her. Back to Mallory. We see her and Rodney walking to Mr. Torres's stable. They talk about the creek that they used to swim in. Rodney says that they are lucky to have survived that, because a few people have drowned there. Mr. Torres comes, and after greeting them, tells them that there's a storm coming, so they should steer clear of the creek. He goes away, leaving Rodney and Mallory alone. Rodney tells her that since she seemed interested in music, there are many other musicians who sold their souls to the devil. Mallory says that she doesn't believe in the devil, and that she was only interested in knowing about Eugene Burns because she found his guitar in their attic. Rodney tells her another story regarding Eugene Burns, that his last record was so evil anyone who heard it would perish horribly. He tells her that it was called Ghost Note or something, and that she should definitely tell him if she found it, since it does not have any copies, and it would be worth a fortune. Mallory comes back home, and her grandma asks to meet her. She tells her that her grandfather was the one who performed an exorcism on Eugene Burns, and hid his things in the attic, so he would not come back. That's why her grandma was upset when she went into the attic. That night, Mallory has a nightmare, where she goes to the attic and touches the guitar. She takes the journal and comes back to her room when she hears strange music. Then she finds herself in a room full of masked people with Eugene on the stage. They suddenly start attacking each other with knives. Eugene comes to her and tells her in a scary tone not to be afraid. Suddenly, she is transported back to her bed, and she sits up and goes to check on the door. When she looks back, there stands Eugene, and she shrieks, ultimately jerking awake from the frightening nightmare. In the morning, she hears footsteps outside her room. Running outside, she shouts at the source to go away, only to find out that it's the mouse exterminator. She apologizes and goes down to talk with her parents. Back in the attic, the man finds the guitar and gets entranced by it. He comes back down and Mallory goes after him. She asks if he is okay when he turns around and chokes her. The man says that he has come from the depths of hell and that he is coming for her. After hearing her grandma's voice, the man drops her and without taking any fees goes away. Meanwhile, Rodney comes and asks Mallory if she can show him the guitar. Mallory, still shaken at what happened earlier, gets angry at him and asks him to go away. Her grandma comes and she asks to stay home. Everyone leaves, and Mallory is left alone at home. Back in Helen's home, we see her getting angry at her children for making a mess. She goes up to find Ashley standing at her door, looking all pale and scary. Helen takes her back to her room and finds the body of a rat on her bed, with blood spread all over the sheets. Poor rat. On the other side, the rat exterminator, still in a trance, goes back to his room and back at her grandma's home, Mallory decides to go and perform a ritual on the guitar so that she will stop seeing and hearing things. When she is done, she sees her grandma at the door and runs after her to explain. She follows her to her grandpa's workshop and finds tools covered in blood there. She finds the ghost note there and takes it to Rodney. Together, they take the recording to a man named Xander, who owns a shop and specializes in vinyl recordings, and his worker, named Lilith. He asks them to leave the ghost note with him so he can look at it. They find out that Eugene Burns recorded his soul into the vinyl to become immortal, and that his guitar is called Astaroth because it was possessed by a demon named Astaroth. Lilith asks Mallory if she is okay, and when they leave, she gives Mallory her card so she may call if she needs anyone to talk with. On the way back, Mallory and Rodney have a fight. Back in the shop, Lilith tells Xander to not listen to the record and leaves to get food. Xander, overcome with curiosity, listens to it anyway. Mallory and Rodney reach home, and Rodney apologizes for snapping at her. They resolve their fight, and Mallory goes back home, leaving Lilith's card behind. Back in the shop, Lilith comes back to find that Xander has already listened to the record. He looks strange as he jumps on her from behind. Xander then tries to onto Lilith, who kicks him in the balls and runs away. Mallory, on the other hand, sees another vision of Eugene haunting her, while Rodney sings and plays guitar in his room, thinking about Mallory and how much he likes her. On the other hand, in Helen's house, her two little kids find out that their mother's life has been taken. The kids run, hand in hand, while their elder sister Ashley, possessed, stands in the corridor with a knife in hand. The kids run and hide. Back in her grandma's home, Mallory is freaked out when the lights go out. She hears strange noises and shouts at the invisible forces to go away. As the tapping increases, she cries, asking desperately what they want from her. Right at that moment, her grandma enters her room, saying that she wanted to make sure she is okay. She takes Mallory to go and sleep in her room. Meanwhile, the possessed Xander has come to Rodney, and together they go to Mallory's grandfather's workshop. There, Xander tells Rodney that they need to free Eugene, to which Rodney disagrees and leaves him. Xander breaks down the wall and finally frees the demon. Back inside her grandmother's room, Mallory tells her everything, from the seance, to the guitar, to the ghost note. In Helen's home, Ashley gets a hold of her younger sisters. When she attacks, the little girl shrieks and tells her to stop. Ashley moves back in a trance and saying that he is free. Rodney calls Lilith, telling her that Xander is acting strange. Back in their room, Mallory and her grandma hear knocking, and they run down to find Rodney. He tells them about Xander, who has freed Eugene. The trio runs to the workshop to find Eugene taking Xander's life. Her grandma tells them to run, and she perishes at his hands. Rodney takes Mallory, and they find Lilith on the way to Rodney's home. The shock makes Mallory act strangely. She laughs creepily and talks without making any sense. Eugene gets out of the workshop and finds a man walking his dog. The man is terrified by him and shoots. Eugene grabs his neck and chokes him to oblivion. Back in Rodney's home, Mallory finally snaps back to normal, and they go to find Eugene's guitar. Lilith stays outside the attic and is brutally attacked by Eugene. Mallory and Rodney come back out to find Eugene standing there. Rodney tells her to run and goes to attack Eugene, but fails and gets thrown to the floor. Mallory takes the guitar and runs to throw it in the bottomless well. Eugene follows her. Rodney wakes up and runs to the attic to get the ghost note. Mallory pants as she navigates the woods. Due to the darkness of the night, she falls down, and the guitar comes out of its case. She touches it to see frightening images. Looking back, she finds Eugene hot on her heels, takes the guitar, and runs. Rodney takes the ghost note and throws it into the river. He then runs off to find Mallory. Mallory finally finds the well and quickly throws the guitar into it, but misses due to the strange images popping up before her again and again. Eugene catches up to her and attacks. Right that moment, Rodney comes and hits Eugene with a stick, but to no avail. Mallory blacks out, and when she wakes up, she finds Eugene playing the guitar and Rodney listening to it. He becomes entranced with the evil music and unwillingly attacks Mallory, who performs a spell, and her grandpa appears. He fights Eugene and banishes him to hell once more. Rodney and Mallory are eventually saved, and together they limp out of the scary location where they almost lost their lives. The movie ends with the evil vinyl of Ghost Note hidden in the bushes beside the creek, where Rodney threw it, with a foreboding premonition of the havoc that it may cause at the expense of poor innocent lives once more.